"And he shall build a glorious city of mirrors," said Fulgrim, radiant tears spilling from his eyes. "It shall be a city of mirages, at once a solid and liquid, and at once air and stone." Perturabo could not speak, as Fulgrim pulled him tight to his breast once again. "Come, brother," said the Phoenician, "let us ascend." What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. In this one, we are going into another Ascension of the Primarchs as they attain Godhood, aka Demon status. First, we covered Angron and his ascension to becoming a Demon Prince, and today we are covering none other than Fulgrim. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the excerpt from Angel Exterminatus, as we see Fulgrim leave his mortal shell behind. "Here," said Fulgrim, clenching his fist and drawing his arms back towards his chest. Perturabo heard a million cracks of what sounded like splitting bone, and the shimmering lights above him shifted. It seemed as though the far distant walls of the chamber were moving, and moments later he saw why. But then Perturabo saw that it was something infinitely worse. Every single gemstone that had been set within the walls was hurling towards the green sun, blazing at Fulgrim's back. The glittering stones sped towards them like bullets. However, the instant before impact, Fulgrim extended his palms, and they ceased their forward movement, forming a sphere of shimmering gems around the sun. Only the upper reaches of the sphere remained open, through which Perturabo could see only darkness. Was it just his fading sight, or was the light of the sun diminishing? Like a star that had exhausted its inner reserves of fuel, the green star was collapsing into its doom. Its surface raged as it fought for existence, but it was a fight Perturabo could see was destined to lose. He slid Forgebreaker from his shoulder and, with its head resting on the ground, pushed himself upright once more. "On your knees, or on your feet. It makes no difference to what is going to happen," said Fulgrim. "But it matters to me," said Perturabo, though the effort of speaking was almost too much for him. "If I am going to die here, then I'll do so standing up." "I will miss you, brother," said Fulgrim, reaching down to pluck the golden stone from the silver skull at Perturabo's breast. He said it with a cavity worked into the eagle upon his own breastplate, and he sighed, like a slave to narcotics experiencing the bliss of the needle. "Oh yes," said Fulgrim, as the first faint threads of black streaked the stone. "Yes, it could be no other than you." Fulgrim stepped close to embrace him, a dreamy smile on his lips. Perturabo felt sick at Fulgrim's touch, but he barely had the strength to draw breath, let alone push him away. Fulgrim kissed both his cheeks and looked up with a rapturous expression on his face. A glittering rain of broken glass was falling into the sphere, shards of crystal torn from the bedrock of another world, and dropped into the upper reaches of the plunging shaft. This was what Fulgrim's mortal followers had carried into the sepulchre on their backs. Light surrounded Perturabo and enfolded him. He was helpless in the grip of his brother, a passenger on this blazing ascent to the surface. Closer than twin souls, they flew through the heart of a world that was not a world, and everywhere he looked, Perturabo could see nothing but his brother's reflection. Polished shards of glass and crystal fell into the shaft from above, the plundered remains of a world that had once been known as Prismatica. How Perturabo knew this, he could not say, but he knew it with the certainty of his own name. He and Fulgrim were like bullets from a gun, and their ascent through the void was dizzyingly swift. As they blasted upwards to the surface, bodies were falling past them. Fulgrim's mortal followers, their lives giving willingly in service to their liege lord. Most were already dead, but those who still lived were shrieking with mindless ecstasy as their lives were spent carelessly by Fulgrim's lusts. His brother laughed and screamed as he basked in the glory of his reflections, each one different from the last, each one more monstrous in its depiction of the Phoenician. In one, Fulgrim was a beautiful creature of pearlescent wings, white feathers, and hung with pearls and silver chains like Sanguinius. In another, he was ram-headed, ruddy-skinned, and dripping in blood. Yet another showed him a formless spawn of primordial ooze, a rejected mass of mutated flesh, fallen too far to ever live. 1,000 times 1,000 images were thrown back at Perturabo, and at first he thought he had stumbled into his thoughts. These images could not be the real thing, he thought. Fulgrim threw his head back and yelled, "I can feel the power. The Dark Prince favors me with attention." Perturabo wanted to answer him, to curse him for his treachery, but he had no strength to give it voice. The stone now set in Fulgrim's breastplate pulsed with sated hunger, a monstrous, hideous thing of soul-sucking horror that had stolen Perturabo's life. Looking at it now, it seemed to be an ugly thing, a bauble crafted in a shadow-haunted city of treachery and betrayal, imbued with its power by those who spent their days crafting ways for the living to suffer. "Can you feel it, brother?" asked Fulgrim, cupping his face like a lover. "Can you feel the fates aligning? The eyes of the gods are upon us." Perturabo could feel something, a sensation like the world breaking apart, like the colliding of realities, or the end of all things. Was this what the end of the universe would feel like? The destruction of time itself? When gods took notice of the affairs of men, it brought about cataclysms of unimaginable fury, and this would be no exception. And with that being said, that was the excerpt from the novel Angel Exterminatus, where we see Fulgrim ascend to demonhood. Now, one of the cool things about this is that we actually have 2 models for Fulgrim that we can play in both the Horus Heresy and 40k, and they both look amazing. Fulgrim was one Primarch that I was always interested in, but due to his theme of like lust and perfection, I thought that GW would want to keep that kind of in the shadows, because they never gave anything to anything Slaanesh themed. So the Emperor's Children never got any new models. Slaanesh didn't really get any updates until just recently, where we finally have a few Emperor's Children Space Marines that we could finally field in games of 10th edition. And with that came none other than Fulgrim himself. So finally GW has decided to finish the 4 Chaos Gods when it comes to the Primarchs and the armies, because we've had World Eaters for who knows how long, we've had the Death Guard, and then they gave us Thousand Suns, and now we finally complete it with the Emperor's Children. So let me know if you want more lore on the ascension of the Primarchs to demonhood, as we might cover another Primarch in the following days. But for now, that's all I got for today. So thanks again for watching, commenting, listening, and subscribing. And as always, it's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Oh, I used to put my freedom